Yeah, so I did my research and looked at a bunch of schools in my area, and
Okay.
it hybrid was just the pick. It was just the lineup of coaches, the people that have come from hybrid, the actual school itself. It's just amazing. Like, I honestly do love going in there every day. Like, I love wrestling and just learning and like just getting to know more about wrestling. I feel like I learn every day I go in there, whether it be
Okay.
from actually wrestling or just learning from somebody else, what somebody else saw. I'm just constantly in an environment where I'm around wrestling. And I think that's what I love the most about it.
Okay. On the penultimate episode of Crash Course, Jayden Valentino is here, and we're going to talk about his experience over at Hybrid. Thank you so much for having you on.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Yeah. First of all, I love your hair. Now, how did you manage your hair like that?
I mean, honestly, it's something to get used to. I've always wanted to
Okay.
have like long hair in the ring. So like I knew I wanted to get used to it at some point, And I use it as a weapon, so it's just finding ways to manipulate it while I'm moving. I don't always want to have to like whip it back with my hands. Sometimes you gotta like just jerk your head or do the Justin Bieber. I don't know if you've ever seen like,
Yes.
yeah, sometimes you
You
gotta
mentioned, I
just
was like, I know what you're
step it
talking about.
up. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
just finding those
because,
key moments to
oh,
like fix it.
okay. Gotcha. Because it's like, that's Bianca Belair. Does it snap like a whip? I'm
Oh yeah.
curious if that's.
Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah. If I whip it back good, you should have seen last night. I was in Austin last night fighting Armani
Yeah.
Sage. I whipped him good last night. It got a really good pop from the crowd. Yes.
That had to hurt on the receiving end.
Yeah.
Where did your name come from?
Oh, so my real name is Jaylin, but
Okay.
I don't really use my real name, so Jayden is my alternative. And then
Okay.
Valentino, I wanted something that just sounded like I can't really even put it into words, just like something exquisite, something fancy, something like
Okay.
rich. And I feel like Jayden Valentino, that just gives.
What did you pick up, whether it's in pop culture or wrestling itself? Where did that theme come from with Jayden Valentino?
My like overall aesthetic, honestly, I
Yeah.
pulled from multiple different people from like wrestling. So like Melina back in the day, I don't know if you've seen my gear, but
Yes.
like very Melina inspired, very Tyler Breeze inspired, like yes. And then of course, like with the braids and like wanting to whip people, that came from Bianca. Cause
Yep.
that's like one of my favorite wrestlers right now. And then of course my swagger and my aura, that just kind of comes from a bit of myself. So just multiple
That's
different
good.
areas.
How long have you been training with Hybrid?
I've been training for about 3 years now, and I had
Okay.
graduation, I think a month ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. So even just before stepping in the ring, and what was your first day like at Hybrid?
I had a pretty different experience with hybrid. My first day, I was in the hybrid challenge, which was
Ah,
a 5-day cardio challenge to basically see if you can hang and see if you can get into the school.
okay.
It was for non-students. This is basically to get into the school. And
Right.
so I competed. It was about 10 of us. And after the first day, there was only 4 of us left. Yeah. So it was tough. But I had prepared for it. Like the second I found out about the challenge, I had just graduated high school and I kind of wasn't really doing anything. And I knew I wanted to wrestle. And so I found out about the challenge and I just grinded to like get my cardio up and make sure that it was just on 10. You know what I mean? Just so I can make sure there was no little gripes in this journey. And luckily, I won that challenge.
What were some of those challenges like on that tryout? It's basically a tryout. What were
Yeah,
some of those like challenges that you've done to get over on the Hybrid challenge?
yeah. So it was just cardio. So like, high knees, butt kicks, normal cardio that we do normally at hybrid now. But
Oh.
yeah, but with it being so brand new and if you're not really ready for it, it could take you out just like that. Like I said, we ended up
Mm.
with 4 people left after the first day. But, I stood in there. I hung in there because, I'm not a stranger to athleticism. I used to play sports, like all sorts of various sports growing up. So I went to hybrid and it was wraps. I won that challenge.
Gotcha. Because like when you had the challenge and you did it, and what was like the learning experience? Because most of the guys who are at hybrid, they're fans to start with, but to experience the different things that hybrid does, what was your learning experience like to even at least know that, okay, this is what I'm doing in my wrestling journey?
It was pretty taxing just because it's a mental battle above everything else in my
Okay.
opinion. Cuz you have to constantly be your own biggest cheerleader. I was going into that challenge every day and yeah, I was getting some support from like other people and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's up to you and your body and what you feel like you can take. And every day I went into that challenge, I went through all 5 days. It was, I'm going to get through this no matter what. I have the mental strength to get through this, not like everybody else. And
Mm.
so that was one of the biggest learning lessons I learned is to just like most of it is the mental battle. It's just telling yourself you can get through it. You can get through it. You're strong enough.
What was your first bump like?
I was ready. I'm not gonna lie. I got in there. So it was the last day of the challenge. They put us in the ring, and we
Okay.
had this guy named Joey Hyder, American Airman, and
Oh, I know.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and he gave me my first bump. He was the one who pushed me, and I hit that floor. I was really ready for it because as a wrestling fan, you always hear about like how the bump is gonna be. Like you hear nightmare stories sometimes, but I was like, I got it, and I
Yeah.
bumped, and I survived, but it was still like, oh, that was more intense than I thought it was gonna be. But
Mm.
after you do it for a while, you get used to it. Like it's cake now.
Yeah, because being in those 3 years at hybrid and all of the lessons that you've done and all the things that you've done, even seminars that you've done, like how much how much knowledge have you really gotten over those years to understand how you're doing things like character wise, just how you want to do your move set? What were those 3 years like? Just learning everything that you can grasp over at hybrid.
Yeah, it was just about being as much of a sponge as I could be. Taking input from everybody. I had my own inspirations like going in that I knew I wanted to pull from, and I incorporated that into everything I do now. But it's still
Okay.
taking pieces from other people and seeing what kind of input that they have to like see how you can make it your own and like just switch it up. And with at hybrid, there's so many people from different backgrounds that like can mold you into like this hybrid wrestler. I hate to sound corny
Right.
because but it really is like that mentality with all these different people giving you input. It really does make you such an all around wrestler. And I feel like that makes you a better performer.
Yeah, because what were some of the obstacles that you've done over that time? Like, I'm sure, like, no one's perfect. Of course, we're gonna put that up front. What were some of those obstacles that you had to really, for you to overcome, to really become a wrestler, like within that 1% improvement that you're doing?
I would say my biggest obstacle is probably just being completely confident. I mean, I'm,
Hmm.
I'm confident going out there and wrestling and like, it's fun and like I love doing it. So like there's an element of all like of confidence there already. But there's still like the anxiety of like not knowing exactly like how things are gonna go. And it's just like it's just butterflies. I care so much about it. I feel like the thought of like messing up or like I just overthink a lot. And it's
Okay.
just knowing like, relax, like you don't have to be perfect. You know? It's just it's a journey and it's not the fans don't really look for perfection. They just want a great show.
Mm,
And as long as you give them
right.
that and you leave them happy, that's really all that matters. I feel like I struggled a lot with overthinking how I was going to perform.
Hmm. Okay. And I guess a concept that I'm learning too is how much has slowing down kind of help you really understand how you do things in the ring? Because oftentimes some shows that I've seen, someone goes super fast and you're like, you don't know what's happening. But for your approach to slow things down and really, really get the gauge on how you're working in the match, how does that help you really just overcome those overthinking moments?
I mean, that it gives you more time, first off.
Yeah, I
Slowing
mean,
down and just being like, okay, let's see where we're at. you know, but yeah, it gives you more time and slowing like that was one of the things I struggled with too, is just moving too fast because you're just on it and there's so much adrenaline in you. You just want to you're just ready, but you just
Right.
have to slow down. You have to remember it's a show and you want everybody to digest everything. Yeah, slowing down definitely is one of the things that's like essential. If you want to be good at this, you got to know like, hey, you're not the Flash.
Yeah.
Relax.
Exactly. Because of course over that time your debut happened. Hold on, my brain went off. Sorry. Okay. What was that debut like, and who did you face, and what were some of those lessons for you to understand how you're doing things moving forward with your debut?
The biggest lesson I learned with my debut is to stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Right.
Because the day I debuted, it was Heartbreakers 2 at Hybrid. And
Okay.
me and Brock Ali, we weren't booked for the show. And we found out that we were going to be on the show literally like
Okay.
30 minutes before the show started.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, okay, we have no choice but to be ready. We just got to lock in. And we were facing K-Jax and Hit in a tag team match.
Oh no! Right in the frying pan.
Yeah, he threw us right up in there. It was like, yep, you're getting the big ones. And so we got pulled from the crowd and we just went out there and we wrestled and didn't win, obviously. But, it's okay.
Yeah.
It was K-Jax and Hit.
Okay, I mean that's basically facing a wall at that point. And because with every match that you're doing now on those hybrid shows, what were some of those things that you observed, not only to the person that you're facing, but also on your own perception on how you're doing things in the ring?
That's a good question. Honestly, watching the shows and then being in the ring, it's like similar, but it's a completely different switch because it's now you're the
Right.
performer. And so I remember my first few matches, I didn't really get like comfortable and I wasn't in the moment for my first couple of matches. I was kind
Okay.
of just like, okay, let's go, let's get it, let's put on a good show. I feel like the last, I want to say 3 matches I've been like in the moment, been like, okay, I've been in my body for the match and I can feel it and
Okay.
I can feel the crowd and I can feel like I'm there. But like, I feel like earlier on, it was kind of just like work.
Yeah.
And it was just something, to get used to, like with anything else. But I did it.
Yeah. Elaborate on like just the you're just going. It's basically just going through the motions of a match. Is that what you're trying to?
Yeah. Just going through the motions,
Okay.
making sure everything goes smoothly. It's weird because being in the ring, you have to like, it's like, or no, not being in the ring, being behind the curtain is like so
Mhm.
many butterflies, right? And then as soon
Right.
as you step it like out of that curtain and you see that crowd, it's like magic. Like it's just like all of it emerges from you. And it's just like you're a star and you have no choice but to be. And
Mm.
you just go out there and you act like it. Period.
Yeah, because I think another aspect too that I've kind of like noticed is communicating to the person that you're working with. Did that take time for you to get that seamlessly, or were there moments for you that you had like a mental block during a match?
No, it was pretty easy for me. Like communicating
Okay,
with
that's good.
everybody. Yeah, at least with the hybrid guys for sure. Like it's like a family there. Like everybody's cool with everybody. It's just, I haven't really had that many matches with like outside talent, but every time I've
Okay.
had there's never been an issue. Like it's always easy working with these guys. So I'm just excited to work with more people and see what other
That's good.
experiences I
That's
can
good.
get.
Because I think before we even delve into getting that certificate, and you've had some outside bookings, and I'll bring this up with the question before that. Working with someone outside of hybrid, did that really translate things in how you're communicating with someone who's like outside of hybrid?
It did, even though not everybody trains the same.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll get people who kind of just train differently, and so they wrestle differently. But it's just adapting to people and their differences, and like just how
Mm.
people train.
What would be was there any what's a moment for you like I wouldn't say communication broke down, but rather like there's like miscommunication that you had to really change in a match that quickly outside of hype?
You're asking like when was the time?
Yeah, so like basically you had a match and you're like, okay, like it's not gone haywire, but you sense like something was off. during a match when you're working with someone. So that's kind of like that.
Yeah, there's been like times where not necessarily injuries, but like I've seen somebody bleeding, and it's like this hasn't happened before, and it's like a lot of blood.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's like okay, just like work. I don't want to. You got to make sure that person's okay. You don't want to like
yeah, for
kill
you,
them.
yeah.
But it's like just making sure like everything's cool, relaxing. Because I'm the type of person I'm not really the best with blood, so
Yeah.
it's just taking your time to like assess the situation and moving forward. If the person's okay, let's continue this match. If they're not, we gotta get out of here. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's the time seeing somebody bleed in the ring for the first time. Oh.
You're like, thanks.
I was like,
So death matches are out
did
of
I do
you.
that?
Death matches are gone for you. No, thank you.
I want to say gone, but maybe for a check.
What was your first booking outside of hybrid?
I think it was United 2.0.
Oh, okay.
Or
That's good.
2.0. Yes.
United 2
And
okay.
yes, and it was a cage match. My
So
first.
it's bordering. You're bordering blood at that point.
Yeah. It was a cage match with K-Jax again. Yep, K-Jax and Brock Ali in a triple threat.
My God. At least I was going to ask this a bit further. Like, is there anything outside of San Antonio that you've done booking wise?
Yes. So just recently, I had my first Uncanny Attractions show. And that's a half wrestling and half drag show that they have over in Austin at the Highland Lounge. And it was incredible. It was great. Like, crowd was great. Like, the environment was great. It was one of my favorite shows I've ever done. And I wrestled twice that night. It was my debut.
Oh, that's cool. But what was it like being outside of San Antonio and making your journey outside of it to go to like a Uncanny Attraction?
It was different because it's a different crowd and it's a different group of people that you're wrestling in front of. So it's like, you don't know exactly how they're going to react, but with the Uncanny Attractions crowd, they freaking loved me. Not even to sound cocky, but like I just felt so loved in there. Like I went out there and it was just like, oh my God, it was so much. Like I was just like, oh, this is easy.
They know what they like. That's what Austin crowds are.
Yeah,
if they love you.
They do.
There's a certain type of like click. Being in Austin on all those shows, there's a certain type of like I haven't seen percent, but there's a certain type of click like with the fans, and if they love you, the crowd will be at its loudest. You're like, oh my God, where was this?
Yeah, they were insane. I loved it though. It was amazing.
Yeah, because you graduated a month ago, you mentioned it. And to have this piece of paper that says, I'm a professional wrestler, how much of your work has been finally paid off for one step in your wrestling journey?
And that certificate was like everything. Like I felt so accomplished because it means that what I set out to do that first day I stepped foot in hybrid, I accomplished. I got that certificate. It took 3 years, but it doesn't even matter. Like I accomplished the goal that I wanted to do and I'm wrestling on shows now. Like there's times like once a week where I'll just step back and I'll just be like, wow, like I really am living the life that I manifested, years ago. And it's not to get too deep, but it's just like so surreal and so crazy to really like sit back and think about it, cause like years ago, I wasn't in this position, I wasn't necessarily a bad position, but this is a much more amazing position to be in considering I'm living out my dreams now. And it's only the start of it, there's so much more to accomplish. And I think that is the most exciting part about it.
Yeah. Cause you mentioned like how much, when you look back at it now and the journey that you're going through, what was it like to now say, okay, I know this is my first step. What can you do to really keep that momentum going now that you have this thing that says I'm a professional wrestler?
Honestly, it's just the love for professional wrestling. Like there's never been a time in my life where I felt like I didn't have it or like I just didn't want it or I just stepped away from it. Like wrestling has always been a part of my life. So I feel like regardless, even if God forbid, I stopped wrestling, I would still love wrestling. Like it's one of my biggest passions. Like even in being a wrestler, like there's negatives and there's obviously things that like, make you feel like, man, do I really want to do this? Or is this really for me? But it's also taking that step back and being like, man, years ago, this is everything I wanted. Everything I wanted. And I think that's what, for me, is what motivates me to continue going and just keep pushing harder and keep working harder and want more.
Okay. Because I was going to ask this too, and throughout the entire hybrid roster, like who is the one that you actually know you click the most with them when you start working?
Ooh, like on matches and like just in the ring.
Yeah, you just sense you sense their vibe, their rhythm, and when you go through a match, of course, again, it's not perfect, but at least like you know it's a great match that you're working with that person.
I hate to credit him, but Armani Sage. Armani Sage. Armani is one of those guys where like he's just, I hate to compliment him.
No, but like in terms of we can go vague but like it doesn't have to be like a deep dive because what's the one thing that makes it worthwhile to work with him in a match? You don't have to be like super nitpicky, but like what were some of those high points for working with him?
It's just he's amazing to work. He's just an amazing worker in general. Like we have such good chemistry together and like we just bounce off of each other so well. And like the second I got in the ring with him, it was just like it was gold. Like I felt so like just comfortable with him and it was just like, it was easy. It just felt easy to work with him.
I'm going to ask this. This is my nitpick. What's the favorite match that you've worked with Armani over that relationship with him, working with him?
That very first one we had, it was yeah, the very first match we had, I was just like, wow, that was amazing. Like that was the first match where I stepped out of that and I was like, we killed that. And that felt really good. And it was at Hybrid Experience. What was the name of the show? Summertime Madness.
Okay.
Yes. And that should be on YouTube anytime now.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's good because now that you're out on the road, you have the certificate, you're looking forward to what's next in your wrestling journey. Who is that one person that you would like to work with, whether it's within a hybrid or outside? Who would you like to have a match with that person?
I've been manifesting it my entire life. I need a match with Johnny TV, Johnny Mundo, John Morrison, John, whatever name he wants to go by. At least once. At least once. Because that was my favorite wrestler growing up. And I feel like we would put on an amazing show together. Don't you think?
Okay. I'd love to see that. But also like on the indies too, because with the people that you're with, especially with the indie scene, being large as it is now, who is that person that you would like to work with?
Oh, there's so many guys on the indies, and especially the Texas indies.
We'll be here all day.
I know. If ever had the opportunity to wrestle Sunny Kiss, that would be so amazing. She's one of the wrestlers, another wrestler that made me feel like it was possible to do this. And like, I just feel like it would be magic if we stepped in there together.
My. So fun fact, before we start wrapping up, she's from my hometown. So really? She's from New Jersey. So I've seen Sunny Kiss at a couple of, before she even became a wrestler, I knew her in passing, and seeing her in Lucha Underground. I'm like, why does that person look familiar? Shoot name. Sorry, I can't say the real name.
Yeah.
I have to
you didn't even know until Lucha Underground?
Yep. That's so dope. Yeah, I met him in passing. And I'm like, that looks familiar. And then like, yeah, that was like, okay. So that was kind of an interesting thing that you brought up to. So it's like, wow, okay. It's just a small world.
Yeah.
But all right, we'll pull back myself a little bit. We'll get this out of the way. We'll just throw that fun fact out the window.
It's great.
But so we're close to the season ending, and I'll ask this to Sky before and Diego prior to that. Being that hybrid is the school that you've been doing for those 3 years, hype us up on why hybrid is that school in Texas for professional wrestling training.
Yeah, so I did my research and looked at a bunch of schools in my area, and hybrid was just the pick. You know, it was just the lineup of coaches, the people that have come from hybrid, the actual school itself. It's just amazing. Like, I honestly do love going in there every day. Like, I love wrestling and just learning and like just getting to know more about wrestling. I feel like I learn every day I go in there, whether it be from actually wrestling or just learning from somebody else, what somebody else saw. I'm just constantly in an environment where I'm around wrestling. And I think that's what I love the most about it.
What are you looking forward to in class? Like, what are some of the things that made you motivated to learn over at
I think just expanding my moveset and becoming a better wrestler, being more comfortable in the ring and like being more fluid in the ring. Yeah.
Okay.
Making
And
sure
it's just
I'm
like
top tier.
just refinement and learning
Yes.
things where you left off. It's that 1% improvement.
Yeah.
That makes you even better at whatever pace that you're doing.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So we are close to the finale. We have one episode left over at Crash Course, and hint, it's already been mentioned on this episode. So leave at that. We'll just leave it at that. We're gonna have our season finale next Friday on July 25th. And again, thank you, Jayden, for having you on. And let's do this. We have one more episode in this. And thank you so much for tuning in wherever you are on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. And we'll end this little season at Crash Course, and we're on to the next one.